At the annual shareholder meeting, Elon Musk said that Tesla is now not only entering a new chapter, but a whole new book. Elon mentioned three things that were new that we hadn't known before. First, he believes the analysis by ARK Invest about autonomy was the most accurate, that Tesla's valuation might reach $5 to $10 trillion alone from autonomy, and another $20 trillion from bots. Second, he laid out the plan for Optimus Bot. He expects a major hardware revision by the end of this year, and likely 1,000 or even a couple thousand bots be working in the factory next year. And finally, regarding self-driving, he said to expect a 10-fold increase in improvement for each upcoming release. I've got Yashu Sharma with us today. Yashu has a YouTube channel called Hit That Bid, and he is an expert in analyzing Tesla fundamentals with his long-term modeling. Actually well known for your stock options momentum trading advice. Thank you so much, Yashu. I appreciate you.
Right on. Yeah, thanks for having me on. First off, nothing is advice that I say. I'm just an idiot that likes to talk about Tesla. That's really it.
Yeah, absolutely. We all are. But absolutely love to get your advice. You have very good perspectives on a lot of things. Haven't had you on in a while. So let's start with our first analysis here. That three things he said, right? So the first one was the valuation. He thought that the valuation of the company could actually get to $30 trillion. He repeated that several times. It might be a hint of his next 10-year compensation plan. But he also, really liked to share, I got to get my thing here ready, the ARK Invest. He kept saying ARK Invest, right? So he said, take a look at ARK Invest's recent publication. And this might actually now become the hint of why ARK Invest published this the day before the annual shareholder meeting. And ARK Invest said, we're expecting $2,600 per share by 2029. He continues, he said it three times. They've been the most accurate predictors of the value of Tesla. He likes what they said. He said extremely challenging but achievable. And this is what ARK Invest simulation is, that expected value by 2029, $2,600, 25% chance that it'll be at $2,000, and then 3,100 bull. So Yashu, what was your thoughts about why did he continue to talk about ARK Invest?
Yeah, so actually a lot of thoughts here. So first, Elon's already been on the record to say that he thinks Tesla's going to be more valuable than Apple and Saudi Aramco combined. So why the need to talk about 30 trillion or, ARK Invest's model? Because he's kind of already laid out what his long-term goal we thought would have been, right? And I think you're right. I think the reason why is because he's laying the groundwork, at least mentally, for probably his next compensation plan already. The one that we were talking about before February. If you remember, there was this whole conversation already going on in the Tesla sphere about Elon's next compensation plan before this judge actually struck down this original compensation plan from 2018. So we kind of spent the last few months here in May and June talking about this little strike down. But prior to that, we were already talking about his next one. And I'm sure Elon, maybe the board, have already started hopefully negotiating in good faith about his next compensation plan. And that's where I think $30 trillion comes from. In terms of ARK Invest's model, I know there'll be a lot of comments and a lot of people saying, who cares what ARK Invest really has to say about this? We know that they're completely off. And fair enough. But remember, what I like about ARK Invest's research is not so much the price targets in and of themselves, because you could hoo-ha about that. But it's really the research that goes behind it and the white papers that they write about their thesis that you can plug and play your own assumptions, your own modeling into. Now, I still have to do that with the new model, but I think them assigning a $5-ish trillion on just robotaxis and putting it kind of a deadline on that. Yes, they've been historically ultra bullish, almost too bullish, even for Elon standards on timeline. I think they said that even this year in 2024, in their last report, that we would have had some sort of robotaxi revenue already. So they haven't been correct on that. But it is something that if you do look at Tesla's valuation, it is going to be something that's going to play a key part of Tesla moving forward.
Nice. I like the way you said that. That the valuation itself or the stock price. I did find it interesting that Elon actually calculated. He actually said, well, if we have this percentage and we have this PE ratio, here's where we're going to get to. I do think he has been thinking about his compensation plan, but $30 trillion is crazy. So even if it just says, I hope just 10 times where we're at today, 5 trillion,
Right.
that would be
Right.
massive. Maybe more than 5 trillion, just to, but anyways, okay. So I wanted to, let's go through the research of ARK Invest. He did, I got this, right, which is this chart that said that ARK Invest thinks that the percentage chance that the robotaxi, the first year that it will start to be commercialized, 58% 2025, 26%, 38% it will happen in 2026. And then the weird part is that it just goes to 0% chance that it'll happen in 2028, 29, 30, because they really are so bullish it's going to happen within the first 3 years. Elon, basically they think Tesla will launch the robotaxi service within the next 2 years. Now, when Elon said what he said, he didn't really say exactly what it is about ARK Invest that he liked. But do you think this is also what he's thinking about, that he believes robotaxi will start in 2 years?
That one I'm a little bit more hard pressed on to believe. There's a point in the call where Elon was asked about what would happen if the car got stuck in a back alley and couldn't get out or whatever, like in a kind of break glass scenario. And Elon's answer to me kind of signaled why I think it still might not be this year. For example, he answered saying, "Well, I guess potentially if it comes to that point where the car can't move, maybe we could look into teleoperating or kind of remote controlling it out, or it sounds like that's probably what we'll have to do." And to me, that immediately signals that that's not something that they're even close to figuring out yet. Because if they were, he would have just stated it declaratively and said, "Yeah, we'll have to remote out. That's our plan." But the fact that he was a little bit still hesitant to give an answer, or didn't want to say necessarily flat out that like remote operating is the way that we'd have to get out of that, to me signals it's not going to be this year. But when Elon says, and this always goes back to what Elon pretty much gave a free commercial to Kathy Wood, right, during that meeting yesterday. But I think personally, he's just saying that this is the most accurate forecast out there. And that's not really even saying much, to be honest, because most Wall Street analysts will not even go and stick their neck out for robotaxi valuation or bot valuation. So I don't think he thinks everything in this report is a slam dunk and it's going to be true. But in his head, he probably is aiming for these certain goals like 2025. I'm just not sure if that Tesla will get there that fast.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, good. So, by the way, this remote operator thing, I've been having like continuously debates with many of my guests. They kept laughing at me because I kept saying, well, because the notion that I kept getting, like for example, Larry and others, were Tesla will not launch this, and when they launch it, it's going to go wide. And I'm like, yeah, you were in that conversation. Like, no, they're going to do it at a pilot. You agreed with me, a pilot city or pilot state, let's say, and that they're going to do it with their own owned cars first. And then they were saying, but they're not going to do it until they have like, it's perfect. And I'm like, what? You're going to wait 2 years, 3 years until it's perfect? No, what they could do is the remote operators. And so this is the answer he gave was kind of like in the middle, which is I think in his mind he's really believing that they can do this without remote operators. And he goes, I guess if we still haven't solved it, we probably could.
Yeah.
But the third point I wanted to talk about today, I'll bring up right now, ahead of the bots, is he was talking about expecting a 10-fold increase in every upcoming release of FSD. And then there was several parts in the meeting where he was asked questions, and he just, like, the guy goes, oh, I have a suggestion for you. Maybe instead of just going for supervised FSD to when you go to unsupervised FSD, before that there's this middle part. And it's like, no, we're going to get to the point very soon where the car is going to drive for a year without you having even one intervention. The confidence that he has and the 10-fold increase, that was the first time we heard him say that there's a 10-fold increase in every upcoming release. So 12.4, then 12.5 and 12.6.
Well,
did you see the confidence? Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, throughout the whole call. But what I would say, actually, now that I think about it, even is, as an executive, you don't want to give mixed signals to your team. And so, there could be a degree of he doesn't want to set the bar a little bit lower than he knows that they can reach, because then it gives them an out. Like if the team knows that worst case scenario, if we don't figure out these problems, we'll just remote in. That's a signal to the team that
I
you
see.
don't need,
Good point.
like you probably don't need to finish all these problems that we have. Don't worry
Hmm.
about it. We can always
Hmm.
just patch that up with remote. And so maybe there's a degree of like, really, I mean, this is just leadership, right? There's a degree of leadership where he doesn't ever want to signal that that's even an option up until it has to be. Just to, and Steve Jobs was quite famous for really pushing the bar on his engineers, and a lot of people hated him for it. They would tell him that certain things are just not physically possible, like the battery size in a phone. And he would go to them and say, I don't care. You need to, like, this needs to be done. And so Elon really operates, I think, in the same vein. So perhaps that's what could be happening. In terms of FSD releases, um, the problem is Elon is setting the bar really high. So when he says it's 10x better or 5 to 10 times less disengagements, that's a tangible, objective bar that the average person that is a beta tester, or not even a beta tester anymore, just an FSD user, like that's falsifiable. That's really falsifiable, right? Like that update that will come out for 12.4 for me, I will objectively look at it versus 12.3.6 and go, you know what, this really doesn't feel like it's 10 times better, or maybe I will. So we're at this point now where I think Elon feels like the rest of the FSD problem is solvable. We're not at a point now where there's unknown unknowns. Everything is known that they need to solve. Now, is that good? Yes. But does that mean it's solved tomorrow? No. But I'm personally very excited because I have certain quirks now in 12.3.6 that I know that the car is going to make every single time. Like stop sign creep is really annoying. I hate how it stops, 5 feet before the stop sign, goes at like 2 kilometers an hour to the stop sign, then fully comes to a stop and then goes. So there's certain things that I'm going to be watching out for acutely on 12.4. But it's at a point now where, even if you put FSD aside, or robotaxi aside, I should say, even at $99 a month, it's a driver assist that if you're on the road for a long enough period of time, it's probably in your advantage to have it and have it on, because it's a secondary set of eyes and I guess ears to make sure that you're not making that mistake. I was driving the other day, and all of a sudden it was 8 or 9 p.m. or something like. Actually, this was last month, 8 or 9 p.m. and the car just slowed down like very abruptly, and I thought some sort of phantom brake situation with the speed bump. But there was this guy wearing all black trying to jaywalk, maybe like 15 feet across. I wasn't even close to hitting him, but the car stopped well in advance of it. I probably would have seen him anyways, but it stopped well in advance. I thought it was a phantom braking situation. I took over. I slowly kept going, and then I realized, oh, there's a guy over there that's looking at me to see if he can jaywalk. So there were certain things. There's certain things with this model already that if you don't even use it for end to end or transporting people unsupervised, it is still valuable at the $99 a month, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah. The theme is his confidence came out really well. So the third item that we can talk about that I thought was just something new information that he shared was about the bot. So first he dropped that there's going to be a major hardware revision by the end of the year. He'd already said that there's going to be the change from the 11 degrees of freedom of the hands to 22 degrees of freedom. But the major hardware revision, right? You can tell me what you think about that. I know Scott Walter has been predicting a major hardware revision by the end of this year, and he was dead on that one. And then he said likely 1,000 or even a couple thousand bots working in the factory next year. At the last earnings call, he had said we expect to have some number of Optimus in the factory, or actually what he said was shipped. And so everybody kept thinking, oh, that sounds like he's going to sell it to customers. Here he confirmed that it's going to be working in the factory next year, but 1,000 to a couple thousand bots. What was your thoughts when you heard about the bot expectations?
A couple of thousand is at a point where I think it is actually material in terms of cost savings, right? Because a lot of the monotonous work that is done on the line, even just being like they were showing all the batteries being packed into or all the cells being packed into the pack, right? With the bots, Another big point that we got from Elon was about $10,000 in the long run to manufacture bot selling for 20. We talked about this yesterday on your stream, but I think those numbers are quite low, to be honest, in terms of the value that a bot would create. Elon also talked about it actually being able to play the piano. I think was it next year that he thinks it'll, or maybe even this year after, being able to play the piano. That's going to be quite the viral moment for the bot. But what it shows us, and it continues to show us, is the way that Tesla approaches new products is they have to vertically integrate. They have to eat their own dog food first. They're going to continue to use the bots on their line, cost save themselves, and then of course have maybe some sort of a case study to show the use case for these bots for when they go to actually commercialize them. I still think we're years away from the possibility of bots being in our homes or anything like that. Like I think we're quite some time away from it being like a cleaner or cook in our house, because I think the marginal rate of use of these bots is going to be at a commercial level for years, if not a decade more to come. The cost savings that businesses can have, they're going to eat up all the bot supply that there might be in the world for a long time, up until it catches up. Elon also said that he thinks there'll be like, I think humans to bot ratio 1-to-1 or something, and he thinks that Tesla can produce 1 billion bots. Or so he's throwing out these crazy numbers with the valuation of $25-ish trillion. Just for context, I mean, Apple is the most valuable company in the world. I think they're at $3.7 trillion today. Now, of course, 10 or 15 years ago, even $1 trillion was kind of insane to talk about. So, of course, there's some sort of adjusting for seasonality, if you want to call it, for that. But at 10x almost of the most valuable company today, that's really like insane numbers. And as we listen to Elon talk a lot about his price targets. I would say there's a large degree of skepticism, even from the average Tesla investor, to go 30 trillion. How about let's get to even 1 or 2 trillion first, and then we can talk about 30. And I think most people are probably going to approach it that way. But the bot is really the next leg of Tesla's story post FSD.
The problem with that is that that's not the way Elon or Tesla works. Yes, we're going to get to 1 trillion just on the cars, just on the automobiles and energy, those two. But what Tesla's trying to do, what Elon's trying to do, is just completely change the game. So now he's talking about autonomy. So people can't understand in their head 5 trillion because they're going, well, Apple's only at 7.7. There's no way. Yes, there's a way. He even said, right? When he said there's 100 million cars out there in the road, he was talking about bots, right? At some point he can get, if just 10% of 1 billion is 100 million. So at some point he'll be able to do that. He did talk about how many cars, at some point there'll be, didn't he say that there's going to be a certain number of cars out there, like Tesla fleet? The Tesla fleet will get to
right. The total,
100
million, yeah. I don't recall the exact number, but it was up there.
Yeah. No, I think there's 100 million. Like at some point he's going, right now it'll be like 7 to 10 million, and then soon it'll be like 100 million. So, you know what I mean? Like that's his approach, is to go and think about massive changes in the world, just cuckoo stuff, and people can't understand that. So I want to share this screen here. This one was, I think, also possibly sharing something we don't know yet. This is the cars. That is so it says we still have a long way to go. The world needs to replace the vehicle fleet with electric vehicles. So you got your cars, the vehicles that we have today. So this is the semi. Okay. He also talked about semis. He approved that the semi is going to now be in mass production scale. Then you see these cars that are hidden, and these two look about the same. And this one definitely does not look like the other two. It looks like more of a van, more of like a boxy thing. What was your guess? A lot of people are now throwing out guesses of what they think these three are.
Yeah, I actually would be curious to hear yours, because obviously, I think the van is obvious, and I think someone like Matt Smith, who has a bunch of kids, is like that's a perfect scenario for him. He's been yelling out the door, at the wazoo for a minivan for a while, for a long time. Obviously, one is the compact, and of course, one probably is like the the cyber van. I don't know what you want to call it, the cyber taxi, the cyber cab. So the big one, though, I think that one's reserved maybe for Mexico. Eventually, when they get there, there was some talk about them already. There was some smoke with the van, with the Tesla van from Mexico a couple years ago now. So I wouldn't actually put that into Austin, but I guess we'll see. What do you think
Yeah.
this is, though? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
All right. Very different than what you just said and what a lot of people are saying. Love it. I love it. I'm just so remember when he was asked the question of, oh, hey, can you please create a van that fits 12 people or something like that? And he said, well, I got too many things on my plate. Sure, I'll add it on my plate. You know what I mean? It's just it was not in his plans at all. This, I believe, is actually the robotaxi. I believe the robotaxi is going to be a cyber cab. And the cyber cab is going to be like the London cabs, which is 4 people can fit in. It doesn't matter to me that the vast 90+% of all rides by Uber and Lyft are 1-person rides. And then the next 5% is 2 people rides. And the rest is like minor percentages, 4 people or more. That's not the point. The point is even if you're 1 person, you come in, the experience you're going to have. You have so much space. You're going to be able to rearrange it. You're going to have so much, video, entertainment screens everywhere. You're going to feel like a limousine. Like that's what you're going to have to feel like. It's not going to happen. And why do they need to do a compact car for the robotaxi? Because the robotaxi's margins is so high. You're not trying to sell a car and lower the price of the car so that I can make a little bit of a margin. So the more simple the car is, the better. So that's what I think that is. And I think these two are the 2 affordable cars. They're going to be the kind of the lower priced Model 3s or Model 2s or whatever they might become. That's what I was thinking. But
that's interesting. Yep. Actually, I think you could persuade me into that. And, I guess that would make sense too, because the other ones are kind of just stock, right? Like Tesla has been using those graphics for pretty much like a coverall for everything for years. So the fact that they have one that's different is probably the one they're going to talk about in 2 months, right? So I guess that and that London taxi relation actually makes a lot of sense. I was thinking that Tesla was just going to do it for just 2-seater, and Elon even hinted that being possible. But I guess if you amortize the cost of the car across the life cycle of it being robotaxied, it's really kind of a nothing burger, and they want to optimize for other things rather than cost. So, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I interviewed Tasha Keeney of ARK Invest, and I asked her about competitors who are using LiDAR. And she actually said, people keep saying that LiDAR is so expensive and they won't be able to scale that. It actually doesn't matter because, like what we just said, let's say that Tesla's cars cost them $20,000, $30,000 to make, but then Baidu's cars cost them, $50,000 because they have to add all these LiDARs and equipment. In the long run, 10 years of robotaxi revenue margins, it washes out. Right. That's what she was saying.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking myself too. Why does a robotaxi have to be cheap?
Yeah. And
it doesn't have to be.
And if you're buying a house to Airbnb it out as a rental property, if you're buying an Airbnb for 30,000, 50,000, you're right. Like that, using that analogy, it really doesn't matter. If you can Airbnb a house, whether you buy it for 30 or 50 or 70,000, you're probably going to make some money.
And the other big debate that I've been having and is with people is that I believe that the robotaxi is not going to be sold to individuals. It will be owned by Tesla and run by Tesla. But if you, the individual, want to rent that out, you can buy any of their cars, including these low-cost ones, and they are robotaxi ready. Those are the ones you can rent out autonomous, but not you're not going to be able to buy a robotaxi vehicle. Now, it could be that Uber or Hertz or some big giant corporate fleet manager might buy it, but I don't think individual consumers would buy it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to add to that. Was I do think it's going to be some sort of like a Boeing model with them manufacturing the plant, in this case the actual cyber cabs, and then big fleet operators being able to buy into them. Also, there's a big opportunity here, Herbert, with the software side of things. If Tesla can figure out autonomy and the software behind it, we never talk about Tesla App Store. Apple iPhones were really not that big. I mean, and then the
Right.
App Store came out, and then everyone wanted to talk about all the games and like that cool, fake barber app that was really big in '07 or like these are the things that made the iPhone the iPhone. We don't even talk about the Tesla App Store being a
Mm.
possibility enough, I think. And I think that's the real next leg of Tesla's mainstreamness, if you want to call it that. So the Cybercab is just going to take that and put it on steroids, because all you're going to have is the ability to have immersive experiences while you're in your robotaxi. And if you look at the competitive landscape of robotaxis, it is actually it's not a dominant strategy to bring your effective experience to the bottom of the barrel, save all your costs. It's actually a more dominant strategy to be as good as you can get while still making money, and making sure it's the most premier experience. So when there's 5 other operators out there, people want
Yeah.
to pick yours because they know that in yours they get a
Yeah.
bunch of other things. And like you're saying, it'll amortize over the cost of a 10-year period or whatever it is, while while that car is on the road. So it's actually, Tesla has to be thinking ahead here, and I think you just convinced me that that's probably what they're going to do.
All right. Thank you so much, Yashu. You great analysis, great advice. Appreciate you. Got to do this more. Check out his YouTube channel called Hit That Bid. And he does, you're still doing your every day at 1 p.m. Pacific time, right after the market ends. You do analysis, right?
They will be back. Live streams will be back soon enough. Right now, I'm just doing ad hoc as I get
Gotcha.
time. Yeah.
Check him out. Hit That Bid on YouTube, on X. He's on X at Hey, it's Yashu. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Right on.
Talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
everyone. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.